Warhammer Chaosbane is a new isometric action RPG coming this summer. I generally enjoy these types of games in that they provide a good consistent sense of progression with lots of enemies to smash and defeat. With that, I'm always on the lookout for a new game within this genre. I know that the Warhammer name and universe has a lot of fans who love it, and I'm coming into this game as an outsider to the series. I had the opportunity to play the beta, and I had a pretty good time with it. There are 4 character classes to choose from, and I spent my time with each of them. Essentially, you have your attacks that use up energy, and then others that will gain energy for you. You can equip several different skills to prepare yourself for different battles. I like how the Knight provided moves that were both useful in their attacks, but also in how they potentially helped you to dodge attacks. The Knight has this shield rush move that will give the player a great amount of speed to run around the battlefield smashing into everything. This is useful if you get surrounded and need to get some breathing room. But this move can also be used as a way to dodge attacks because of the high movement speed. I found this really interesting and something I hope that gets explored more within the main game. I understand if not every skill can be used with different purposes, but if there's a good handful of skills between the different classes, that could be an interesting way to use these skills within the game. I enjoyed the mage's different magical attacks. I was able to send out these energy orbs that would bounce off of walls and continuously attack enemies, along with having the ability to breathe fire, effectively turning my character into a flamethrower. The Dwarf is a powerful melee attacker and has the ability to be able to grapple around the environment, making it really easy for him to dodge attacks. The Elf focuses more on ranged attacks and traps. She can also summon a friendly tree that will attack enemies for you, allowing the enemies to focus on your ally and a chance for you to stay back and pepper them with arrows. Right out of the gate, I did feel like the combat was very familiar and easy to get into. You have attacks and skills and you must fight anything you come across, gain experience points, and find loot. The combat is familiar and very fun. One area I do think that was lacking was with the Knight and his melee attacks. The game does put a good emphasis on the swing of your sword, but not really on the impact of the weapon when you connect it with an enemy. It honestly made the combat feel a bit off from an audio standpoint. I think the audio would be better if it was tweaked before the launch of the game to really add some more audio to the impact of your weapons within the action. As of right now, the sounds can make the player feel like they are cutting through paper rather than hordes of enemies. And this isn't an issue with the skills that are used by the Knight, just with his basic attacks. I also didn't notice this sound issue with the Dwarf, and his character is also a melee attacker. So maybe this is a bug or a small oversight for the Knight. Either way, I hope it gets fixed. One other thing I noticed with the beta is how I couldn't find a way to replay story missions or go back to old areas if I wanted to. Sort of like in other RPGs to be able to kill some more enemies and gain experience and loot. The game very much wants to push you down a linear path, but I would like the option to be able to go back if needed. Now, since this was the beta, that option might just not be available within the beta, and hopefully will be available in the main game, or it was available and I completely missed it. I played the beta for a few hours, and while I identified a few issues, I very much enjoyed what I experienced. As you defeat enemies, you will gain experience points. The experience points will improve your stats along with being able to equip different skills. You can equip a certain amount of skills, and certain skills cost more to equip. so I do see some variability coming into play with different builds of the different characters. The game provided a good amount of loot, and I always felt like I was finding something better. The game does introduce a tree-like system so that you can attach different passive stat bonuses to help you out. These require different materials that you collect throughout the environment. Additional skills are also unlocked this way, so I see that the trees are going to have some exploration within using them. From the level ups to the skills and the upgrade tree, it seems like there's going to be plenty of progression to enjoy. Another feature that is included with Chaosbane is co-op play, and more specifically online and local co-op play. This is really what drew me into the game, as I love local co-op games. It's something you do not see as a norm for many modern titles, and it's really left up to indie titles to really fill up that space. I played some co-op, and there were a few details that I liked that were included. The big ones is that I could manage my inventory at the same time my partner was also managing their inventory. Some of these games only let one player manage their inventory while the other player needs to wait. I like that you could do this at the same time. Another neat addition was how I was playing as the mage, and my friend was playing as the knight. When I picked up equipment for the knight, it would go straight into his inventory since I can't equip knight weapons or armor. I like this, especially for party play, and it made things a little bit easier. While I had fun in single player, co-op always tends to be the better way to play these games, and I like that there's local options.
I should wait some more.
While the beta only covers the beginning portion of the game, I do want to touch on the story. Essentially, you're on a quest to save your friend. What I did like from the start was how the story would have a bit of a different introduction for each of the characters depending on who you picked. It sort of reminded me of the image-style cutscenes that were used in Diablo 3 for the different characters. I cannot tell you if this is going to be a memorable story, but what is here is enough to help push the action forward, and in a game like this, the gameplay takes priority over the story. What does help these cutscenes is the narrator. He's really playing it up and seems to go all out in his narration. It helps to bring some camp and fun to the game, and I really enjoyed it.
One are masters of the winds of magic, and none are more renowned than the high princes of Safri. You were born to a life of great power and privilege, destined one day to take your place among the archmages at the Tower of Hoeth. The arts of magic came easily to you, but as your skill grew, so did your arrogance. You had been wandering the old world for little more than a year when you heard the news of Asavar Kul's invasion. A human named Magnus was raising an army to drive back the Horde. It sounded like an epic adventure, the very thing you'd left the Athel Loren to find. And so you crossed the depths of the Great Reichwald to find the Imperial army.
The cutscenes pretty much consist of exposition, but what I really do have to hand it to the narrator was just how he brings everything to life. I do wish the game had CGI cutscenes instead of pictures, but I do understand that that would be an even greater cost, and I don't think these guys have the same budget as Blizzard does. Either way, I do think Chaosbane has a lot of potential. The beta hints at additional modes and means to play the game besides the main campaign. If it has a good length of a campaign, along with replayable modes that are kind of like adventure mode from Diablo, it's gonna be a good time. I really do love the inclusion of same-screen co-op. I probably sound like a broken record in all of my videos because I just love this inclusion and I really want to highlight it whenever I see it. And with the few tweaks I've seen with local play, it seems like this is something that the developers considered rather than just wanted to tack on. The four characters seem to be different enough from each other that will help to bring some good replay value to the game. Warhammer Chaosbane is coming out later this summer, and I think this is one to keep an eye out for. The summer months tend to be dry for video game releases, and I could see this game going under the radar, but hopefully with its release window and with it having less competition in the summer, it's gonna get that attention. If the beta is any indication of the main game, then this is gonna be a fun game. Thank you very much for watching.